My parents had been eagerly waiting for the birth of their first grandchild, excusing all of my sister-in-law's selfish behavior. But one day, their kindness was abruptly shattered. My mom and I discovered an outrageous lie when we found and looked through a notebook my sister-in-law had. My name is Sophie, and I'm an office worker at a company in Boston. Ever since my brother, who's 3 years older than I, got married a few years ago and moved out, I've been living in our parents' house, with just the two of them. My brother David is gentle-natured, much like our parents, while his wife, Lara, is an outspoken beauty. It seemed that my brother had quickly lost control in the relationship. After getting married, his work trips abroad increased, and he became busier and busier. He rarely had time to come home, so we often didn't see him at family gatherings or New Year's celebrations. That's why we were all surprised when we suddenly heard from Lara. Lara? It's been a while. What's going on? Sophie, long time no see. Well, it seems like I'm pregnant. What? Congratulations! I quickly told my mom about Lara's pregnancy and handed her the phone. My mom was overjoyed at the expectation of a grandchild being born. Lara, congratulations! Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Eh? Well, of course that's fine, but... Even my mom, who had been happy at first, ended the call with a hint of confusion. Mom? What happened? Well, Lara wants to spend the time until she gives birth here, at our house. At our house? It seemed Lara had asked to spend her time until childbirth at our home. But don't people usually go to their own parents' house during times like this? My mom thought the same, but Lara insisted that our house was better because my brother wouldn't feel as uncomfortable visiting us as he would her own parents. We considered letting her stay at her own place, but my brother was too busy to help with the chores, and Lara said she wanted to rest and feels secure giving birth in our home. Do you think she's having severe morning sickness or something? She didn't say anything about that, but she might be anxious since it's her first childbirth. Lara should have been a stay-at-home wife since getting married. I thought she could relax at her own home without coming to ours. However, my mom seemed to want to let Lara do as she pleased and was planning to accept her. And the following week, Lara arrived at our house with just the bare minimum of luggage. Thanks for having me. As soon as she arrived, she handed me her luggage and asked where her room was. You can use David's room. We've kept it the same. David's room was kinda small, wasn't it? Well, I suppose so. And it's on the second floor, right? Yes, it's next to my room. It's a bit much to go up and down stairs while pregnant. Your parents' room on the first floor was quite spacious, wasn't it? Well, it's a room for 2 people, so it is large. Then I'll take that room. It's convenient since it's close to the entrance. Just switch the stuff in the rooms as you can. Before I could stop her, Lara went into my parents' room. Sophie, just make sure to switch the bedding by tonight. Without waiting for my reply, Lara holed up in my parents' room and didn't come out. Mom decided to take Lara's concerns into account and announced that she and Dad would move into my brother's room. 2 of us? In his room? It's going to be too cramped. Perhaps Lara could be the one to compromise. But David and Lara's place is a condominium, right? I can understand their unease with the stairs since they're not used to it. If it's only until the baby's born, then why not? Her radiant smile left me speechless. Despite this, Lara continued to behave selfishly, disregarding our plans. Sophie, I want to go shopping. Could you get the car ready? Mother-in-law, I feel like eating something uplifting today. Could we have meat for dinner? Oh, father-in-law, I'd like to put away the clothes I bought in the closet. So could you move your golf bag somewhere else, please? When my parents catered to Lara's every whim, I was growing increasingly irritated. Lara, how are you feeling? Fine, I suppose. Why don't you try doing some cooking or household chores occasionally? You'll have to do them once the baby is born and you're back home. Why on earth should I cook for you all? Mom seems tired and I have a busy week at work. I probably won't be able to get home early. Since we're living together, shouldn't we help each other out? Listen, I'm pregnant, okay? If something happens to the baby because I'm not resting, what are you going to do about it? You say you need to rest, but Lara, you're constantly going shopping and eating out for lunch and dinner. That seems more harmful to your health. What? I don't want you meddling in my private life. This is why I dislike having a sister-in-law. No matter what I said, Lara ignored it completely, living carefree without lifting a finger to help around the house. When my brother came to check on Lara and I complained, he was no help at all, saying, "Right now, Lara and the baby's health are most important." How long was this going to go on? When I asked Lara when she was due to give birth, she said it was still half a year away. Half a year? That's when I realized something. A few days later, when my brother was over for dinner, I addressed Lara once again. "Lara, about what I mentioned before, I still think it's odd for you to stay here for another half a year without doing anything." "Sophie, this again?" Lara replied with a bored expression. "Don't you not have a boyfriend, Sophie? Are you jealous because I'm happily married with a baby on the way? If you're so bitter, why don't you find a boyfriend and get pregnant yourself?" "That's not my intention. I just think that you're taking advantage of being pregnant. I need to ensure I have a healthy baby, right? I'm trying to give your parents the joy of spending time with their grandchild, since you can't. And yet, all I get are complaints from you. It's unpleasant. Don't stress me out. I'm pregnant, remember? Are you really considering our parents' happiness? If so, think about how hard it is for mom and dad with your selfish behavior. Do you know how much they're enduring for you? I'm going to give birth to the heir of this family, so a little indulgence is acceptable, right? Or are you planning to give birth in my place? Huh! Heir? Really? David is the eldest son, so it's expected, she said. I believe it's my duty as the eldest son's wife. No, that's not what I'm asking, I interjected. I'm asking if my brother is truly the father of your unborn child. At my words, Lara suddenly became fidgety. What? Of course he is! What nonsense are you talking about? But if your due date is in 6 months, that would mean you conceived when... I trailed off. Listening to our exchange, Mom's face hardened. She had been anxiously following our conversation. Lara, is it true that your due date is in 6 months? Have you been deceiving David and us? No, you're misunderstanding. When I said in 6 months, it was just a slip of the tongue. Lara stammered. Then show us your electronic health record and pregnancy journal. Mom persisted. You should have printed copies from the hospital, and you always carried your journal, right? That... David seemed confused by our exchange, but seeing Lara's reluctance, he swiftly produced the pregnancy journal with a health record from his bag and handed it to Mom. What's the big deal? Show us the electronic health record. What could be wrong? David questioned. Wait! Ignoring Lara's objections, Mom opened the journal, her face turning pale. There was a picture of Lara with an unknown man pasted inside, and the electronic health record, it was definitely off. I see now, Mom stated, her usually warm smile now completely vanished. Mother-in-law, listen to me. Due dates are vague, right? What's certain is that a baby will be born into this family. You were looking forward to your grandchild, weren't you? As a token of my gratitude for letting me stay at your home, I promise to let you hold the adorable baby as much as you want. Lara pleaded. However, Mom, having put everything together, coldly replied, Leave our home, immediately. Leave? What about my unborn child? Why don't you spend your time at your parents' house? I'm sure it'll be less stressful without an annoying mother-in-law or sister-in-law around. Mom retorted, immediately phoning Lara's parents to explain the situation. Your father is on his way here. Upon hearing this, Lara panicked. My father? But why? As my brother and father looked on confusedly, I explained that one can determine the conception date from the due date, and during that period, my brother was abroad, so it was impossible for him to be the father. But if it's not my child, then whose is it? With a stony expression, Mom showed him the picture in the journal. Isn't it the man in this picture? There's a friendly-looking photo of him and Lara in the journal. Is this true, Lara? Explain this! I don't know what you're talking about! This is a setup! Lara denied, retreating to her room and locking herself in. Lara! David murmured, still unable to believe what he'd heard. After a while, Lara emerged with a suitcase. David, we can't talk properly here. Let's go home and talk. Just the two of us. What do you mean we can't talk here? Sophie seems to dislike me, and in the end, your mother is on Sophie's side. You're the only one on my side, David. You mustn't believe what these people are saying. She planned to paint us as the villains and sway David to her side once they were alone. If I left things as they were, Lara could continue to manipulate my brother. Something had to be done. Just as I was about to intervene, the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, it was Lara's father. He had rushed over after my mother called him. From the moment he arrived, Lara's father's face was red with anger. Lara, what in the world? Dad? Lara's father told us about when Lara had returned home while my brother was stationed abroad. That day, there happened to be a school reunion, and Lara had returned to her hometown to attend. But that night, Lara didn't come back home. Her father had just assumed that she'd gotten caught up with her old friends. But the next day, Lara's father noticed that he was being whispered about every time he went out. Is there something going on? When he finally asked a neighbor, they replied reluctantly. Your daughter Lara, she moved away after getting married, right? On the day of the reunion, she was seen leaving early with a man. What? Could it be that morning she returned? When Lara's father confronted her about it, Lara flatly denied it. We all just had a good time and drank until morning. Maybe someone saw me when I got separated from the group and ended up with just one other person? So there's nothing to be guilty about, right? Of course not. I'm already married, you know. Despite feeling uneasy, Lara's father chose to believe her story for the time being. However, it turned out that Lara had been deceiving not only us, but her own family as well. Is it true that you're pregnant? Is the baby from your affair? Apparently, fearing that her affair with a classmate would be exposed, Lara had even kept her pregnancy a secret from her parents. The fact that she hid her pregnancy from her parents is the most evident proof that she had something to hide. Why would you tell a lie that would so easily be discovered? As I was dumbfounded by her blatant lie, Lara began to desperately make excuses. Everyone will just fall in love with a baby once it's born. Even if they find out about the affair afterwards, if they've already accepted the child, they won't kick me out. Everything would have gone smoothly if Sophie hadn't blabbed. Lara's comment was totally out of line. Even my brother, who had wanted to believe in Lara, seemed to finally see her for who she really is after hearing those words. So, you were cheating on me after all. What? No, that's not it, David. Lara seemed to realize her own slip of the tongue, but it was too late. What's not it? I'm included in that everyone you just mentioned, right? Don't make a fool of me! This was a roar of anger unlike anything I'd ever heard from my gentle brother. I'm breaking up with you. No! Hey, David, you love kids, right? You were happy when you found out we were having a baby. Let's raise the baby together. What? Are you kidding me? Raise a child when we don't even know who the father is? Let the real father raise the child, not me. What? Father-in-law, mother-in-law, Sophie isn't even married, right? We don't know if she can have children yet, right? Don't you want to hold your grandchild? Mom spoke, exasperated. You must be joking. A child from a complete stranger has no blood relation to us. We can't call that a grandchild. But it's the child of your daughter-in-law. So isn't it a family member, even if there's no blood relation? David has decided to break up with you, hasn't he? We both support the divorce. Sophie, what about you? Of course, I agreed. But it isn't right just to divorce. He should demand compensation. Compensation? Of course, right? She cheated, had a child, and even tried to deceive us into accepting that child as our family. How much compensation are we talking about here? As soon as money was mentioned, Lara became timid. I shared the details I had secretly obtained from a lawyer since I started doubting Lara's fidelity. Sophie, thanks for looking into this. I've also been thinking about getting a lawyer for what's next. David said he might demand compensation based on what I had relayed to him, but he also offered Lara to reduce the compensation if she promised to never engage with our family in the future. Realizing she had no chance of winning, Lara accepted the proposal and finally agreed to the divorce. Now please, pack your things and leave. Alright. Dad, let's go home. You can't come back to our house. What? Rumors about your affair haven't died down in the neighborhood. We don't want you bringing more shame upon us by returning home pregnant like this. You are no longer welcome at our house. Go to the man you cheated with. Lara burst into tears and clung to her father, but his resolution seemed unwavering. There was a reason Lara was so against this. As it turns out, the classmate with whom she cheated is quite notorious and doesn't hold a steady job. Now, Lara had no choice but to rely on him, someone she never thought she'd marry, let alone live with. Even though they ended up living together in the classmate's apartment, his part-time wage wasn't nearly enough for both of them. Lara had to work part-time until her due date, doing household chores not just for herself, but for her idol partner. Meanwhile, David was down for a few weeks due to the shock of being deceived, but with the encouragement of our family, he has managed to bounce back. He's relieved that he didn't continue married life with someone as terrible as Lara, and now looks at it optimistically. On our parents' advice, David and I joined a marriage consultation service. Taking the incident with Lara as a good lesson, we intend to properly evaluate our future partners before marriage, hoping to eventually give our parents the joy of holding their grandchild.